What's the stupidest way you got laid? I thought I was going to sneeze and didn't realize I was staring right at this girl for an extended period of time. Somehow she took it as me making a move. By the time I realized I was staring at her, I saw her making eyes back and biting her lip slightly. We kind of just walked towards each other after that point. Story 2. At a party, I drank a girl's liquor she brought without asking permission. She came up to me as I was pouring myself some and said, "Hey, that's mine." I said, "Then let's drink it together." We ended up together in bed later that night. Story 3. My neighbor once asked me to help her debone a whole chicken. When I walked into her house, there was no chicken. So I walked into her room to ask where it was, and she was naked. Story 4. I was at a New Year's party, and at midnight my best friend grabbed the back of my head and the back of the head of the girl standing next to me and shoved our faces together for the New Year's kiss. We ended up in an upstairs bedroom not long after. Story 5. My friend was at the club, and he's the kind of guy that doesn't go to clubs at all. He saw a girl on the dance floor he liked, and we all told him he should go talk to her. He went, and 10 minutes later we saw him walking out of the club with the girl he liked. We were all shocked he got a girl on the first try. The next day we asked how he did it, and he told us he just complimented how good her belly button looked. Story 6. I was leaving the bar one night, and as I was about to walk out the door, this girl who was about to come in stopped and looked me over. She asked me my name, so I told her. She said, "Nice to meet you, let's go," and took me by the hand. Drunk me gives an enthusiastic, "Okay," and we walked hand in hand to her apartment. Story 7. I made a bet with a girl I just met on the outcome of our foosball game. The loser buys the winner a beer. She asked if there was a way to make the bet more interesting, and I said yes. The loser gives the winner oral. She agreed, and she lost. She paid up in my car, then we went to my house and continued. Either outcome of the bet seems like it'd end in a good time. Seems like a good bet to me. Story 8. I had broken up with a guy after a very brief relationship. He showed up at a mutual friend's house with 2 other guys and pulled me aside to tell me one guy is a peace offering, so he and I could stay friends. I took the offer and ended up being with the second guy for 4 years. We had not ended on bad terms at all, so I don't know what the peace offering part was all about, but either way it worked out for me. Story 9. I was at a hotel in college with a bunch of other college kids. A bunch of us were in one room drinking, and I had to go to the bathroom, but someone was using the one in the room. I said I was going to my room to use the restroom and also to get some more beer. A girl in the group asked if she could come with me, and when I came out of the bathroom she had one of my t-shirts on. I didn't go back to the party room with more beer. Story 10. I had some dice from a D&D game and was rolling for probabilities on random things, such as will I pass my test. This guy I had a crush on came along and started rolling too. I ended up rolling to see if I would end up doing him. I rolled 100% and told him it had to happen. That is the story of how dice got me laid and how I lost my virginity. Story 11. A girl I met in class didn't know where her next class was. I showed her the way and got her number. She was pretty, so I told the story to my roommate. My roommate decided to play a dumb joke by sending her a message saying that I miss her already. She texted her dorm address. I brought some food, but she only wanted to do something else. Story 12. I walked out to the middle of the bar and started spinning my sweatshirt around on the floor, blowing around all the crap people dropped like a sweatshirt tornado. This girl came up to me and asked me what I was doing, and I said, "Trying to get a girl to ask me what I'm doing so I can start a conversation and hopefully go home with her." It worked. I am struggling to picture this scene in my head. OP is swinging around in the middle of a bar, probably looking like a truly crazy person. And they still get the girl? You would think all of the women would have fled after seeing such a scene. Story 13. When I was in college, I got randomly paired with 2 girls in my class to work on a project. We met in one of the girls' dorm room, and after we finished the project, she pulled out a pack of beers and we just drank and talked. One of the girls was telling a story about how she saw someone at a bar kiss 2 people simultaneously. I was like, "What? That's not possible." And they were both like, "Dude, it is totally possible." And I was like, "How? I can't even picture that." So they showed me. We were drunk, and things quickly escalated to us having a threesome. Story 14. I was a sophomore at the time, and I got to school early for some reason, and it was a late start day as well. So I sat at my friend's hangout spot waiting for people to show up for a pre-class hangout. A senior girl I knew walked up and asked why I was at school early. I replied something about my dad having to go into work early or something. She said she had a fun idea and to follow her. I followed her to the theater, and she took me to the back with the props and put me down on the couch, and the rest is history. Story 15. I had just gotten a new kitten, and I was outside of a club on my phone and locked it. The girl next to me saw my home screen of me with said kitten on my head. She asked about him, and we started talking some more. The night was winding down, so I told her I was going to head home. She went in to grab her jacket and came running back out asking to come back to my place to see my kitten. Things went as you would expect. Felines ended up being a bit of a theme for the rest of the night, actually. I had the little guy for maybe 4 days at that point. What a bro. He got a new bed the next day and more treats than he knew what to do with. Story 16. I was at a house party and they had Guitar Hero going. My turn came and I threw it on expert. This one girl teased me and mockingly said, "This guy must be good." In the middle of the song, my housemate came by to ask me something, and I ended up having a full-on conversation with the guy while not looking at the TV and was hitting every note. That girl was mine later on that evening. OP is probably the one and only person to ever have been laid due to being good at Guitar Hero. I can see the appeal, though. The pure confidence and perfect execution would be a sight to see. Story 17. I was visiting Italy and had gotten lost and was trying to find myself on a map. I sat down on some steps near a statue and stuck my hand in dried, sticky soda. Fortunately, I had hand sanitizer and washed up. A few minutes later, this truly hot Italian man walked up and also put his hand onto the sticky spot. I offered him hand sanitizer, which led to drinks, which led to us doing it. Story 18. My buddy used to try to do this thing at the bar where he would dance his butt into girls in hopes they'd start dancing with him. It never worked, not even one time. But one time I was standing on the edge of the dance floor and he was trying to do it to this girl, and she grabbed onto me and pulled me into her and whispered into my ear, "Pretend to be my boyfriend," so that my friend would go away. My friend left and I danced with her all night and then spent the rest of the weekend with her. Story 19. I had just picked up my dog from Petco after getting him groomed and ran inside to pay my bill and pick up some dog treats. The girl at the register was clearly having a bad day and we chatted up a bit. She explained that she just got dumped by a guy because of her new tattoo. I told her that I was having a crap day too, and if she wanted to give me a call after she got off, I'd buy her a beer. Later that evening, she sent me a text asking if I wanted to see the tattoo she got dumped over. I said yes, and she then sent me a picture of a pair of wolf paws tattooed on her boobs. I just responded with "nice," and she then asked if I wanted to see them in person. I sent her my address, and about 20 minutes later I had a very awesome rebound. Story 20. During college, I was at a scientific conference with about 10 or so other students from my department. Due to an odd number of males and females, one girl was going to be lucky enough to get a room to herself. We got to the hotel the night before the conference and all the students gathered in 2 joining rooms to drink the night away. Naturally, there was significant arguing over the single room. Eventually, after several drinks, all the girls huddled together, evidently to hash out who got the room. After finishing their huddle, they rejoined the party. One girl who pretty much all I knew about her was her name, and the fact she was recently single started chatting with me. I asked her who ended up getting the room. She leaned in and said, "The one of us who picks up one of the guys first." I sat there stunned, and she grabbed my hand and led me out the door while winking at the other girls at the party. To this day, I don't know why she chose me. You can't argue with that logic. Hopefully OP wasn't just picked because they seemed like an easy target that would say yes. It doesn't seem like it'd make much of a difference, though, as to why they were chosen, as OP was attractive enough to the girl to be picked either way. Story 21. I met a girl and asked her out to dinner. As we are concluding dinner, I told her the dessert at the restaurant sucked, but I had some better dessert at my place. I was being sincere, as I had some homemade dessert a coworker had made me recently, and it was delicious. We went back to my place, and she went to use the bathroom. I went to the kitchen to prepare dessert, and I soon heard her call my name from the bedroom. My bedroom was connected to the bathroom by a closet. I walk in, and the girl is very naked and in a position of preparedness, for lack of a better term. I'm standing there dumbfounded with a big bowl full of brownies and ice cream with 2 spoons. The event was great, and the brownies afterward were amazing. By far one of my more eventful evenings. Story 22. I got a cab home from the bar, and there was a girl driving the cab and a girl in the passenger seat. The passenger was a friend of the driver and also somewhat intoxicated. She was talking to me on the ride and noticed she had her tongue pierced. I told her, "I've always wanted a blowjob from a girl with a tongue ring." When we got to my house, she said, "Okay, let's go." She and the driver came in, and the driver sat at my kitchen table and did paperwork while her friend came into my bedroom with me. Never saw either one again and couldn't tell you either of their names. Story 23. I broke up with my now ex-girlfriend and was pretty down about it. A good friend of mine suggested I go out with him and a few buddies to a house party. I turned down the offer at first, but was swayed by the fact that he said there was going to be a girl there that would help me get over my ex. So I went and sealed the deal, but that's not the odd part. The following weekend, there was another house party at the same place with a lot of the same people, including the girl I had gotten naked with in a biblical way from the weekend before. My friend wanted to set me up with a busty redhead that was going to be there, but assured me she wouldn't put out. I did my best to show her the goods, but to no avail. But I did get her number. The second time I ran into the redhead, we got drunk and she invited me to the bedroom, but I'm too drunk. Trying not to piss away this opportunity, I think to myself, if I get some blood flowing, I might get halfway there and be able to fake it. So I roll her over in an aggressive manner, and the loudest fart of my life comes out of me. We're nose to nose as the loudest fart of my life comes screaming out of me. I asked her, "What was that?" To which she replied, "You farted." Not to go down without a fight, and in a last-ditch effort I ask, "Are you sure that wasn't you?" And she replied with a staunch, "Yes," so I passed out. We were married 4 years later. I would really like to know more on how this led to them being married. Was it a funny conversation the next morning, or was the fart what sealed the deal? You'd reason that the girl would stay far away from OP afterwards. I need more. Story 24. I was in the Coast Guard during Katrina, and a few hundred of us got sent to a town about 100 miles outside of New Orleans. One night I went out drinking with my buddy and his girlfriend, who are also in the Coast Guard. We were all in a local motel, staying 2 to a room. After the bar closed, all 3 of us were trashed and went back to his girlfriend's room. At this point, we were getting hit with what was left of Hurricane Rita, and it was getting nasty outside. Her roommate didn't go out and was laying in bed. They told me that I could stay there rather than go back outside to get to my room. I was really drunk, so I would have had no trouble sleeping on the floor. The roommate said I could sleep in her bed. I told her my jeans were soaked and asked if I could take them off. I get into bed with her, and she snuggles up to me. Within about 10 minutes, her hand was already on me, and not long after that, we were doing it. This was all with my friend and his girlfriend sleeping in the bed next to us. Story 25. In college, I would shave my head completely bald. I used an electric razor on my face because I couldn't grow a beard, and I would use a blade on my scalp. I went to a friend in the dorm and asked her if I could borrow some of her women's shaving cream so I wouldn't get razor burn. She volunteered to shave my head for me. When she was done, I said thanks and went down the hall to take a shower. I came back to the room and she was still there waiting for me. She was extremely turned on by shaving my skull. She quite literally attacked me when I opened my door. Story 26. I replied to an adult film star on Twitter who was in Las Vegas at the same time I was after a post went up with her saying something to the tune of "Somebody come to my hotel and do me." I basically saw it go up. I thought I was having a laugh by being agreeable, but she got back to me. She was in the same hotel I was, so I ditched my wallet and phone since I was like 95% sure a beating and a robbery awaited me at the room number I was given. I hooked up with an adult film star purely by being in the right place at the right time and willing to completely abandon a lifetime of hammered-in safety habits at the mention of vagina. I wonder if OP's friends believed the story. If a friend of mine told me that this happened, I'd be tempted to say they're lying. It really is just a case of being in the right place at the right time, with a little bit of boldness mixed in. Story 27. Some girl I hung out with had an older sister who was a true 10 out of 10, but she was 6 years older than me. I would flirt with her all the time, but never even got close. I was a senior in high school, so I kind of expected it. One night I saw her at a club and she ended up needing a ride home with all her friends. Her house was the closest, so I dropped her off first. About 2 minutes after the last girl was dropped off, she texted me asking if I could come back real quick to kill a giant spider in her house because she was freaked out, so I drove back. At this point, I was sort of hoping she was lying to get me to come over, but she led me to her bedroom and showed me a giant spider. I killed it and threw out a Hail Mary and said, "You know, if there was one, there's probably more," and joked with her that I should stay so I didn't have to waste gas when the rest came out. She laughed, so I said, "Did it work?" Within 30 seconds, we were doing it. Story 28. A game of gay chicken. I was out with a few of my mates already hammered after a big day session. One of my mates had his friend say she was bored and she was going to join us. We got along okay, but didn't really talk much at first. Fast forward a few hours and we're in a club and I'm rolling balls. For some reason, I started licking my mate and it escalated into a standoff in a game of gay chicken. I'm looking at my mate and yelling, "I'm not gay, but I'll kiss you, bro." She then pulls me in and goes, "You know you can just kiss me instead?" She was pretty hot, so I wasn't going to argue. I ended up taking her home 20 minutes later. It was a great night. Would play gay chicken with one of the boys again. Story 29. I was in my college dorm and had a friend over from across the hall. I mentioned I hadn't been laid in a while and she took my phone and asked me which guy in my contacts I wouldn't mind having doing it with. I kind of laughed and mentioned some guy I thought was cute. She types something and hands me the phone back. She had a text ready to send saying, "Come over and bring a condom." I was shocked and thought it was stupid because I would never just assume a guy would come do me without feeling things out first. I let her send it anyway. 20 minutes later, I get a knock on the door. It was actually a fun time. Women really do have the whole hooking up thing on easy mode. All it takes for most is a single text and they'll be right over. If a man were to message something similar, it'd be a different outcome a majority of the time. Story 30. I went to a party hosted by two sisters. I was upstairs with one of them starting to get busy when I realized that I'd left the condoms in the car, so I went to get them. On the way out, the other sister was coming out of the bathroom. She stopped me to talk for a minute and she asked if I'd do her. I followed her to her room and she already had a condom on her nightstand. Afterwards, I went to my car and returned to the first sister's room. She asked what took so long and I told her that I thought I had some in my car but didn't, so I had to go to the gas station. Story 31. I was at a house party where I knew a majority of the people, but there was a group of girls that I was unfamiliar with. One of my buddies at the party is gay and gets even gayer when he's drunk. Through the network of my friends in this group, it had gotten around that I'm not exactly a micro. This drunk hero goes over to this group of girls on the other side of the room, points at me, and tells them something I can't hear. I knew what he said, and I was honestly upset because it seemed weird having a guy go tell all those girls that. But this was no mere guy. This was a gay guy, which all women seem to take for their word on principle. Later on in the night, there are a bunch of people sitting in a circle on the floor. One of the girls from that group came over and sat down next to me and casually placed her hand on my thigh. We did not speak a word to each other until we were upstairs in the bedroom.